Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. We're very pleased to have you here. We're going to talk about the Hong Kong budget 2022 and 23. There are going to be some very relevant news for all of our clients. And we have our two colleagues, Kemi Rivera in charge of the Brazil desk, as well as Delilah Lee, the senior manager of the Latin department, to talk about these new changes on the Hong Kong budget for this year. So first, I want to talk with my colleague, Kimberly. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Victor. I'm good. Thank you. How about you?
Fine, thank you very much. So, Kimberly, this new Hong Kong budget has been released recently, and there are some good news for our clients on regard to some tax deductions, incentives. Could you please let us know a little bit how are these tax deductions going to be applied to our clients? What is there for them?
Sure. Yes, there is some tax incentive that were announced in this budget. And the reduction announced was in the profit tax, which is the tax that the companies have to pay. And they have proposed a reduction of these taxes by 100%, subject to a ceiling of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars per case. And you might be asking yourself, what does that mean in practical terms, right? So to explain that, I will quickly go over the overall taxation system in Hong Kong for businesses. So normally companies in Hong Kong are required to pay the profit tax, and this tax is divided into two rates, which we call a two-tier rate tax. And in this system, you will have a tax rate of 8.25% for the first 2 million profits in Hong Kong dollars. And after this 2 million Hong Kong dollars, the rate is fixed at 16.5%. So if you take this into consideration, a company that has 100,000 in profits per an assessment year, normally this business will have to pay 8,250 Hong Kong dollars of profit taxes. And within this incentive, they would be exempt from paying because they have not reached the cap of these 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. So let's consider another scenario, a company that make 300,000 in profits per assessment year. They would have to pay 24,750 Hong Kong dollars in taxes, but with this incentive, they will only have to pay 14,750 Hong Kong dollars. Another thing that I would like to explain before finishing this question is that the period of assessment in which this incentive is applied is the assessment year of 2021 and 22.
All right, great. So that sounds very good. Our clients, like, I'm sure they're going to appreciate this help from the Hong Kong government, reducing some tax burden on them, as well as getting access to some deductions. But I'm talking about the deductions. Do they need to apply for, or submit any specific application to get access to these tax cuts or deductions?
Actually, the process is quite simple, Victor. There's no need to make any application to the Island Revenue Department or to give any sort of notification. The clients can proceed with the usual tax filing, so nothing new.
Great, that's great. So that means no more work for them to do, or like a long path to get access to these deductions. So one more question. How about if they have already filed taxes and this Hong Kong budget has not been enacted yet? What's going to happen?
That's a good question. Very good, because it kind of goes with the question I answered previously. Taxes should be filed as usual, and the ROD will calculate the reduction in the final assessment. And as for these companies that had their final year of assessment 2021 and 22 issued before the enactment of the law, the RRD will make a reassessment. So no need to worry about this either.
All right, so that means that no one can actually, lose their opportunity to get access to these tax deductions, no matter if they have filed or not. That's amazing. But we know that in Hong Kong we pay taxes on a provisional basis. That means that we pay taxes not just for the year of assessment, but also for the following year. So how about this following year? Do they need to, cut their taxes? Can they cut taxes, deductions, anything?
Yes, as you mentioned, Hong Kong companies are required to pay this provisional tax for the following year. And the calculation for this provisional tax is based on previous years, but this tax reduction does not affect or change this calculation. Thus, the provisional tax won't be reduced by the tax incentive. And to summarize, this reduction will be reflected only for the final tax payable for the year of assessment 2021 and 22.
Okay, so no tax deduction for the provisional tax. Going back to our companies and our clients, they are here today. Some of them, they have already their employees in Hong Kong, either as a local staff or a foreign expat working in Hong Kong. And those employees, of course, they have to pay back taxes on a regular basis, right? Is there anything on the budget that covers them?
Yes, the budget also announced some incentives that can definitely help this case. For the people living in Hong Kong, one of the most relevant parts is for these employees are the incentives for the salary tax and the tax on their personal assessment, which is the tax that the employees are required to pay. The conditions for the application and the incentives for the salary tax and tax on their personal assessment are quite similar to the profit tax reduction. For example, the year of assessment is 2021-22. The employees can enjoy also 100% of reduction subject to a ceiling of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. And the application should also be done as usual, and the reduction is not applicable to the provisional tax as well.
All right, got it. And how about their expenses? Most of them, they have to pay rents, they have to pay, like lifestyle, like other expenses, food, etc. Anything there?
Sure. There is another thing that is important to mention about this is their expenses for the employees, which is the rental expenses. The budget proposed to provide a tax reduction for rental expenses starting from the year of assessment of 2022-23. And this is subject to a ceiling of 100,000 Hong Kong dollars for a year of assessment. And this incentive is a great help for these employees that lives in Hong Kong, especially because real estate in Hong Kong is one of the most expensive in the world. And about this incentive, one thing that is very important to mention is that if the place of residency is provided by the taxpayer employer, they won't be electable to this incentive. And this includes those taxpayers who receive a refund for any rent paid. So if you receive any refund from your employer for your rent, you cannot apply for this incentive.
All right. Okay, got it. One more thing. On a regular basis, our clients, they need to pay their business license every year. What's gonna happen with them, with the business license?
That's correct. But the business license registration fee will be waived for 1 year, starting from April this year, 1st of April, until 31 of March next year. And even though the business registration fees are waived, please note that the enterprises are still required to pay the levy fee for the protection of wages and insolvency fund. To better explain the difference and what your company still needs to pay, I will give a comparison on how it normally is and how it will be with this incentive. So if your company renews the business registration license on an annual basis, the fee for the renewal is 2,000 Hong Kong dollars plus the levy fee of 250 Hong Kong dollars. Leading to a total of 2,250 Hong Kong dollars for renewal. And now with this incentive, the total amount for that the company has to pay to renew the business registration is just the levy fee of 250 Hong Kong dollars. So it's a good help, a good difference in the total amount.
Right. Well, actually, it sounds very nice for our clients to have so many, deductions and help from the Hong Kong government. So thank you very much, Camille. I wanna now turn to Delilah. Hi, Delilah. So Delilah, when you read through the Hong Kong budget, what is the number one topic that you wish to highlight for all our Latin American clients?
Actually, managing the trading relationship between China and Latin America, most of our clients, they set up a Hong Kong company and then either use the Hong Kong company to source from China or selling to China. So actually, China has become one of the top trading partners of many Latin American countries. So what triggers my attention in this Hong Kong budget is the trade promotion policy under the section developing industries. So apparently there's going to be a Hong Kong dollar 135 million Hong Kong dollars allocated to the Hong Kong Trade Development Council for the introduction of the support scheme for pursuing development in the mainland China market in order to facilitate Hong Kong entrepreneurs in seizing the opportunities in the mainland Chinese market.
Right. So you are saying that the Latin American companies can take advantage of this support scheme.
Yes, actually, Latin American companies can explore markets and capture business opportunities through Hong Kong trade platform. For example, nowadays, there in Hong Kong, there is this convention and exhibition industry subsidy scheme that is now being extended to the end of this year. Basically, the scheme subsidizes exhibitors and major conference participants 50% of the participation fee at those events organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council.
But is this subsidy only applicable to those companies established in Hong Kong?
Not really. Actually, whether you're a local company or you're overseas company, whether you're a large or small company, you can all participate in the exhibitions organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. So the subsidy, as I said, it will subsidize 50% of the participation fee, right, in those exhibitions organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, but it is subject to a cap of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars for each booth, and then 100,000 Hong Kong dollars for each fair.
What are the other requirements do the company have to meet in order to get the subsidy?
There are two things that they need to be aware of. Number one is that this scheme is only applicable for an exhibitor taking part in a physical exhibition organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. And the other thing is that the same company, they should not enjoy this subsidy for more than once at a single event.
But currently, our clients, they cannot travel to Hong Kong. How can they attend an exhibition physically?
Well, hopefully, Hong Kong is going to slowly relax the travel restrictions. But if the clients, Latin American companies cannot physically travel, our advice could be maybe hiring a local sales representative, hire a remote sales team temporarily to, just be there physically in the booth. What's interesting to point out is that Hong Kong TDC has a sourcing platform that does not only help you to source products, but you can also source service providers such as advisory, marketing, and sales professionals, even accounting services as well.
Great, thank you. So you talked about trade promotion just now. So now I want to jump to another keyword. I noticed during the Hong Kong announcement that the term Greater Bay Area was repeated many times by the Financial Secretary's budget speech. I know that you grew up in Shenzhen and also spent many years working between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. I'm interested in knowing your takeaways from the Hong Kong budget about how Hong Kong plays its role in the Greater Bay Area.
Right. Well, everyone knows already that the Greater Bay Area is China's very ambitious plan to develop this whole place into a mega metropolis cluster that competes with the other Bay Areas in the world. So in recent years, we've seen a lot of investment promotion activities to attract foreign investors to set up businesses in the Greater Bay Area, and it makes sense. Greater Bay Area is already home to a lot of leading global corporates and financial institutions. There are quite many Fortune 500 companies established there. So as a region that is not only rich in capital, but it's also rich in professional talents, industry talents. So it is extremely attractive for business growth prospects right now. And well, a little bit background, if I go further, Hong Kong actually has a future fund that is used to pursue some higher investment returns for the city's fiscal reserves, which is considered sort of like a sovereign wealth fund. So under this future fund, Hong Kong announced that 2 years ago, the setting up of an investment portfolio named Hong Kong Growth Portfolio using part of the future fund for investment projects that are strategically valuable to Hong Kong's economy, right? And hopefully these projects will reinforce Hong Kong's status as a financial, commercial, and innovation center. So in this year's Hong Kong budget, under this Hong Kong Growth Portfolio, there will be a Greater Bay Area investment fund that will specifically focus on investment opportunities in the Greater Bay Area. So roughly, I think 5 million Hong Kong dollars will be allocated to this GBA investment fund. So we do expect that in the coming years, Hong Kong will increase its engagement with the GBA market. And another example I could point out is that in this budget, there is going to be this plan to develop a sea, air, cargo transshipment between Hong Kong International Airport and the rest of the GBA. So under this plan, Hong Kong will set up an upstream logistic park in Dongguan and also an airside intermodal cargo handling facility at the Hong Kong International Airport. And this will essentially allow the export cargo from mainland China to complete the security screening in advance and then be transported to Hong Kong and then to all the overseas destinations seamlessly, and vice versa, right? So the international cargo can also be imported to mainland China through this reverse process more smoothly.
I think this is just a perfect example of how Hong Kong is playing its role as an international logistic and trading hub in the Greater Bay Area by creating more and more incentives opportunities and upgrading the supply chain infrastructure, right?
Yeah. As a major international logistic hub and financial center, we always tell our clients that Hong Kong essentially is a super connector linking the Greater Bay Area cities to the world markets.
Now, lastly, I just want to touch upon the topic of innovation. Obviously, Hong Kong is doing a great job establishing itself as Asia's tech hub. How can Latin American startups take advantage of these Hong Kong's policy measures to support innovation?
Right. Same as other economies, the policies of Hong Kong government, they are really recent years really focused on promoting innovation and technology and creating a business ecosystem that is favorable for startups. So in Hong Kong, we actually have a really thriving startup community with a very strong network of angel investors, venture capitalists, and there are a lot of networking events, seminars, webinars, conferences that offers a lot of matchmaking opportunities for global startup. And as I mentioned earlier, Hong Kong has a Hong Kong growth portfolio, right, that will invest in projects that will help to increase the city's competitiveness and productivity. So under this portfolio, there will be an increased funding up to 5 billion Hong Kong dollar that will be used to set up a new investment fund called the Strategic Fund. So in Hong Kong, there are 2 industrial parks, namely the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park and the Cyberport. So these 2 technology parks will be invited to identify some technology companies which are of strategic value to Hong Kong, as well as investment opportunities that are helpful to enriching the Hong Kong's information and technology ecosystem.
All right. And what do you think are the key areas for Hong Kong's innovation and technology industry?
That's a very good question. So apparently, Hong Kong Right now, there are a few, focus area. I would say biotechnology, artificial intelligence, anything that could related to smart city and fintech, right? Fintech is obviously one of the key areas. So I think these are the main focus area for Hong Kong's innovation and technology industry. Mm-hmm.
So I presume that if any Latin American startup company wants to take advantage of the Hong Kong's government funding schemes, they should be thinking about how their technology should benefit Hong Kong and their citizens, right?
Right, that's a very good thinking. So based on what we discussed earlier, besides having a proven and marketable concept, Latin American startups, if they want to take advantage of Hong Kong's government fund, or if they want to apply for some funding programs in Hong Kong, they have to really make a plan, not only to show that they have a viable business plan, but they also need to prove that their solution or their technology could be of certain, social and economic value to Hong Kong. So obviously, whenever a Latin American startup, they came to us and say, oh, hey, I want to set up a Hong Kong company. I want to apply this fund and that fund. But we usually just tell them, take a moment to reflect on your business plan, do some homework before getting too excited into applying this fund, because you really need to pay attention to this point. This is one of the key criteria of getting getting access to the Hong Kong funds. Yeah.
Right, great. So I hope that in the coming sessions we can talk a little bit more in detail about this Hong Kong startups ecosystem and the relevant funding programs. I believe Latin American startups and companies and the ecosystem there for enterprises is an untapped market with a lot of potential, to enter Asia through Hong Kong. So thank you very much, Delilah. Thank you very much, Kemily. To all of our attendees, thank you very much for joining us today. This is our first event, live event. So we want to thank you very much. And also we want to invite you to let us know if you have any more doubts or comments or any topic that you would like us to discuss. Please let us know, contact us directly, and we will be more than happy to help you to, talk about these topics and clear out some questions. My name is Victor Herrera. Thank you very much for your time, and goodbye.